All right, good. All right, so I am recording now. Thank you for that reminder. All right, let me show you guys my screen again just to remind you of an example of the process. So for homework, in asking you guys to generate or formulate a thesis statement, I wanted you to start here, right? Treat this question as though you are writing in your journal, right? How would you respond to this question? So in helping us through this process, we remembered that perhaps we should break this question down since it is somewhat of a three-part question. How have you grown as a reader? One. How have you grown as a writer? That's two. And a critical thinker. So together we attempted to break down this question and kind of throwing out our answers, right? So you guys see that here. So for a thesis statement to be developed, we would take a look at this information, our free write, our generated ideas, and we would use this to plan a direction for our paper. So plan a thesis. I want us to get in the mindset that a thesis will go through some drafts. Even the most seasoned professional writers, they normally do not just ding, ding, zeroed in, I have my thesis. Normally, you have to look at your thesis. You have to ask certain questions. Is my topic clear? Is my controlling idea communicated effectively so that an audience member will know exactly what this paper will talk about, but also as writer, I will know what reasons or supporting information to include. So single most important sentence in your essay is the thesis. So let's practice or look at ways of taking this information and formulating a thesis statement. So let me brainstorm here quickly. And then I want to show you guys a couple more samples than what we viewed on Monday. Let's see. One step we always want to do when formulating a thesis statement is we want to always answer the question in complete sentence format. This will allow us to address the topic, which the topic here is looking at growth and development. How have you grown and improved? That's the topic. We want to make sure that is communicated in our thesis statement. So developed as a reader. All right, you guys, I'm freestyling on my own. I'm sorry, I haven't forgot about you. I'm just kind of focused on this response. And as a critical thinker, and by I know you guys are thinking, first of all, Ms. Cole, that is a long thesis statement. It isn't that long, but because I'm using this complete sentence format, the question in itself was somewhat of a mouthful. So look at how, and let me bold this just so it's a little bit clearer. I even want to kind of make it a tad bit larger just so you guys can see it. All right. So let's look at this. If we were going through the steps, first we generated idea. That's the first step in the writing process. Second step, planning and organizing. I took a look at some details that we had generated, and using that, I came up with what is the main ways that I have grown and developed as a reader, writer, and critical thinker. So you guys see here from the sample thesis statement, I have grown and developed as a reader, writer, and critical thinker by. Now, I know you guys may say, ugh, that sounds a little tacky. We can go back in and polish it up, fix how it sounds. But first, let's look at, is it answering the question? Okay, so I have grown and developed as a reader, writer, and critical thinker by annotating and engaging in the text, practicing the 5-step model, and by making connections to the text. Okay. So what I've done here is I have directly identified the topic. We know we are looking at growth and development. Since this is our topic, your entire essay needs to discuss how you've grown, how you've developed. So that's how the topic helps us. Now, where it looks at identifying how you've grown, we see here I have named the ways in which I've grown. So I've directly identified annotating and engaging in the text as a way I've grown as a reader. I've identified practicing the 5-step, and I should they should say writing model, but I'm keeping it as this. This is identifying how I've grown as a writer. And lastly, how I've grown as a critical thinker. That is directly identified. Okay. So in developing a thesis statement, you want to answer the question, and you want to answer the question thoroughly. So again, not to beat a bad horse, but I'm not to beat a bad horse, not to beat a dead horse, but to remind you, when you're writing, not just for the final essay assignment, but also for that CRT, you want to answer the prompt question. The goal of them asking that question is they want to know, what do you think about it? So where we saw on the practice CRT, where it may have asked, do you agree or disagree with the author's main idea? Well, your answer is what the entire essay should be about. So first things first, directly answering the question is the first thing we need to do to fully develop an essay. So you guys see here, for those of you who have completed your thesis statement draft, the homework, does your thesis statement look anything at all like this? Is this looking familiar? Was anybody on task, or does anybody feel like this looks like what you yourself did or similar? See, this is why I need to see your thesis statement. So even though you guys have time, I would have liked to see them by today or for class, but that is okay.
So we could just send you the thesis just for today, not the whole essay?
Just the thesis, just because before you can write the essay, your thesis would have to be intact. So I just got a message in chat from a student who said, I kind of just start writing it, right? Well, that's free write. That is still the generating ideas process, but that isn't writing an essay. You don't want to feel your way through your thesis by writing. That is kind of, and I know we all have our individual process, but if you struggle with thesis writing, if you struggle with essay development, try it this way. So I know we may have a normal model or way that we do, but if in your writing, it has traditionally been hard to identify the thesis, maybe your writing has been disorganized, or maybe not centered on a central main idea, you may want to follow, just practice the format of, well, this time before I start my essay, let me lay out what my thesis is, and let me practice writing it using this thesis as a guide. So I'm not opposed to you guys just writing it to kind of see how it goes, but you need to be able to point to, here is my thesis statement. This is my main idea, and here are how my body paragraphs support and develop that. So the main goal again is format and structure, essay format and structure. So again, let me take us back to the thesis statement here. If your draft doesn't look like this is a good model. You guys, again, you have your own tones, you have your own ways of presenting your main idea, and I don't want to take that from you. This is your essay. You are telling your story as to, over these 15, 16 weeks, how have you grown and developed? What was presented in the class that helped you to improve? So it is your baby. This is your baby. This is your story. You guys are operating as author, but in helping you to refine the process and to get the most out of it, I am teaching and directing everything under this 5-step model. So we start with thesis when we plan and organize, and we use this to then help us write a first draft. So let's talk about that. So once the question has been answered, once we have identified the direction in which we're taking our essay, because as an author, as writer, I can read my thesis sentence alone and I can outline my paper. So I know already that my body paragraph 1 will detail, explain, and lay out all of the ways that annotating and engaging in the text has helped me to improve. So I'll call this how again, I am taking us right back to our topic. Grow and develop is the topic. How have you grown? How have you developed? How have you improved? So in my body paragraph, I am going to stay with the topic, annotating and engaging in the text. That is what I identified in my thesis as my main idea. So to keep my essay unified, you guys remember paragraph unity and coherence. Every detail, every body paragraph is hinged on my thesis. I do not need to be talking about anything else, even though I identified annotating and engaging in the text is how I've grown and developed. I then wouldn't want to spend the entire paragraph talking about vocabulary or journals. You know what I mean? So the thesis is really important in keeping us in line. These are the parameters of the paper, and I will only discuss within these parameters. So as you guys can see, when the thesis is clearly and effectively stated, I can then plan my paper. So I know that my body paragraph, I am going to throw out examples of how annotation and engaging in the text has helped me. I may use examples such as how answering the post-reading questions helped me to gain comprehension. I may go into how annotating by questioning the text helped me to learn author's intent, but however it helped me, you guys again are telling your own stories, your own journey of growth and improvement. You would add those details. All right, using my thesis, I can also plan out what my second body paragraph will talk about, and that will be the 5-step model. So in this paragraph, I'm going into how the writing process has helped me to grow and improve. Or I'll say grow and develop. Let me stick with that. Again, that's the language of the topic. It needs to always show up. You need to kind of always be pointing back to the topic, okay? And now that I have my thesis, I can outline what information will go into my third body paragraph. This is a 5-paragraph assignment. So with that, sorry, I'm struggling here. With me knowing that it's a 5-paragraph assignment, we already know essay structure, intro, 1 body paragraph, 3 body paragraphs to develop and support thesis, conclusion. So since we know proper essay structure, I can outline my essay using that format. I'm sorry, I'm muting myself so I can yell at my son and tell him to turn his TV down. So hold on really quickly. All right, my bad. All right, in body paragraph 3, based on our thesis statement, I know this paragraph is going to talk about making connections to the text, okay? So because I selected these reasons, then I would want to throw out anything that helped me to make connections to the text. So maybe response papers, right? You can talk about how response papers, you guys remember the language discrimination. The goal of that was to help you guys to connect or make connections to that topic of language and identity. So whatever helped, again, this is my example. So I need to think of ways that best helped me to grow and improve in making connection to the text. I can say response papers. We can say journal. I can say journal writings helped me to make connections to the text. We can also talk about class discussions, right? So some of this you guys definitely know already. We've talked about outlining, but to take yourself through that process, to do utilize this yourself, it's going to begin with your thesis statement, okay? And I know previously we may not have always depended on a thesis statement, so we feel like we can write a paper without it. But again, one of the main goals of the class is to kind of teach us new strategies, new ways. So consider, let me start with my thesis first. Let's practice thesis first, using my thesis to help me outline and set up my paper. And then from that, I have the information now for me to at least draft an essay. Let me see how, based on this idea, based on my outline on how I plan to break down my body paragraphs, let me put this in sentence form and see how it works. So from there, you guys will write a first draft. So with 3 weeks of us having left in the semester, and with me making this assignment due that last week, I implore you guys to get a jump start on this, okay? It's going to feel like a lot of things coming at you at once if you try to write this that last week when you have everything else going on in your other classes. So try to at least set up what is my thesis, and try to at least now or within this week and next week set up outline. What are my body paragraphs going to talk about? And I do believe if we do it in this way, if we practice it this way, then the habit, it will become a little bit more ingrained in us as a habit for that final CRT, where you guys are asked to execute it within a limited time period, okay? So did you guys have any questions on this? What do we think about this example? Does it seem useful? If you have struggled with anything in terms of getting your essay together, planning and organize it, does this process seem like it may help at all?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, good. So we'll consider this. So in answering the question, this is good. So you guys know kind of what your own thesis would look like. Let me play just a little bit further up here. So let's say you feel like this just doesn't sound like you. I don't like the way this sounds, right? I have grown and developed as a reader. Replace it with your language. So let me kind of just show you guys a remix to this. Wait, I'm sorry. Sorry. Look, I thought I was helping. I may be making this worse in that as a writer, I just overthink everything. So simplify. Well, you could say, I've improved in my English 96 class by annotating and engaging in the text, practicing the 5-step model, and making connections to the text. So again, what I'm attempting to show you, I'm kind of struggling. As long as you're answering the question, okay? It may not have to be as what I call white bread, so as structured as this is, but as long as you are including that topic, this cannot be eliminated. You are talking about how you've grown, developed. You can use the word improved. You can talk about what you have learned. All of that is relative. I'm sorry, I have a participant who raised a hand. Yes, go ahead. Did someone want to ask a question? Okay, I'm sorry, I messed that up. But I'll keep this up, or I'll actually add this to Brightspace just so you guys can look at this as a sample. But let me show you something else. I pulled up other samples. So when we saw each other, is this it? When we saw each other on Monday, I used a former student sample, and it was useful in the fact that it showed the structure of the reflective essay. But I want to point to some that can take us from thesis statement to development. So let me share my page with you guys. I am not going to read it all to you like I did last time. I'm just going to kind of point to certain parts of the paper, but I will post this to Brightspace under course content so that you guys, in writing your own reflective essays and developing your own paper, you will have a sample to refer to. So let me show you really quick. All right, normally I like to black out names just in the case that students may know someone and just for privacy's sake. So if you know someone, act like you do not, please. But again, these are about 6 reflective essay samples, and where the last sample may have seemed really long, I'm not focused so much on you guys writing a book as I'm focused on you answering that question and illustrating how you've grown and developed. So keep in mind what we learned about argument. This essay is operating as both a narrative, so it is you telling your story of growth and development, but it's also operating as an argument. So remember what we talked about, purpose of an argument, to persuade or convince your audience. So you want to be mindful of your audience. What are they looking for? They're looking for me to have a clear-cut thesis and for me to communicate how I've grown and developed as a writer. You also know that for the argument essay, in order to persuade or convince, you will need to lay out evidence. So if you are saying you've grown in a particular area, when you come to your body paragraph, you need to support that. I've grown, I've become a stronger reader because I annotate. Well, in your body paragraph, you may need to go through a process. What process of annotation worked best for you? It will have to be evidence. It's not just enough that you guys say it. So knowing that, look at this sample I have right here. And I will read the paragraph just to kind of reinforce some things that we've learned about essay structure. Each paragraph has a job. The job of the intro paragraph is to establish context. That is to set up this topic for my audience. Okay, so look at how this introduction is working. It says, everyone has different types of flaws, but mine are mostly in reading and writing. The way I read something has always caused me trouble understanding the author's purpose in writing. Whenever I walked into my English class, I was often shy because I knew how bad my reading and writing skills were, but now I have a bit more confidence in myself. My experience this semester has highly developed my reading comprehension skills, and it has helped me develop in accepting my classmates' criticisms toward my essays. Okay, so I'm pausing there, and I'm pointing out how this introduction is operating. They kind of start off by kind of walking us through their journey, right? Everybody has flaws. My flaws have always been in reading and writing. I struggled at first, and they kind of identified the areas that they struggled in. That's useful. That's useful as an audience member, because before you tell me how you improved, it's useful for me to know kind of what you normally struggled with, right? So as a introduction tool, that narrative was useful. Now, I don't want you guys to be too self-defeating. I don't want you to come in all the time or constantly with, I'm horrible at reading, I'm horrible at writing, you know. Try not to be that fatalistic, but I guess if that's how you feel, I don't really want to dictate your narrative, but hopefully turn it around. So you guys see here where the student says, I was often shy, but now I have a bit more confidence. So we see in the intro how they are laying out some context. Here is where I was. Here, once my confidence started to build, I began to turn around. But look at this last sentence. My experience through this semester has highly developed my reading comprehension skills, and it has also helped me develop in accepting my classmates' criticism towards my essay. Now, I'm going to be honest, as an audience member, the phrasing of that thesis is a bit cumbersome. I think it could be more simply stated. However, they did answer the question, okay? So they are talking about my experience this semester. So again, the question asks, in what ways have you grown and developed, throughout the semester? So they are directly answering that question. They are saying that they have developed their reading comprehension skills. So somewhat vague, but when we get to the body paragraph, I'm hoping they go a little bit more into detail. So normally I'll tell you guys, try to be as clear as possible in your thesis. Try to directly identify a way that you've grown and developed so that it's clearer for your audience. Just to say my reading comprehension skills were developed, that is somewhat vague, but where they go into, and it has helped me develop in accepting my classmates' criticism towards my essay. This is very specific. So I know they are going to talk about how peer reviews help them, right? So for a thesis, they've established some direction. They're going to talk about how reading comprehension skills improved and how peer reviews help them. That is the job of your thesis, is to lay out what your paper will discuss. So again, I'll allow you guys time individually to read these, but I am going to do this one real quickly. I just cannot resist. Let's look at how the body paragraphs line up to that thesis that we just covered. I've improved in my reading comprehension skills, and I can now take feedback from my classmates to improve, okay? So first body paragraph. In my 4 years of high school, annotating meant to highlight what I thought was important in the writing, but that never truly helped me understand what the writing was about. When I read articles in class or for homework, I always read it thoroughly once and start answering questions, which I often got incorrect. At first, I hated always getting annotating homework because it just seemed too much to do on an article. But I got used to annotating in that style. After a while, I didn't mind this because I realized that I struggled in my midterm multiple question section after I spoke with my teacher. The way this helped my reading comprehension was that I had to highlight the main ideas for each paragraph, and this made me reread paragraphs multiple times in order to understand the main idea. Now I force myself to read articles more than once and find the main ideas, which has helped me to understand the article more. Whenever I have a hard time remembering or understanding what I read, I always look back at the main ideas I highlighted to refresh my memory. All right, I like this paragraph. Where we took the main idea of they've developed reading comprehension skills, you guys see in this paragraph where they specified what reading comprehension skills has helped them, how they've grown and how they've improved. So look at these details. We've talked about the job of the intro. Consider the job of the body paragraphs. They are to give examples. They are to give explanations. They are to lay out the hows and the whys. So I think this student did a good job of going into detail. Yes, before I couldn't stand annotating. That's what they're saying if I'm summarizing appropriately. They said they thought it was too much, but after practicing it in class, they realized that it will help them. You guys see how they laid out after not doing so well on that practice midterm. That is when they realized that the annotations can help me pinpoint the main idea. So I like this paragraph in supporting the thesis of how they develop their reading comprehension skills. Do you guys see that? And you see how they didn't just lay out one example. They laid out several. So they laid out where they were at first. So what was wrong with their reading comprehension skills. They then laid out what they targeted to help, annotation. and then they laid out how annotation helped. It helped me to identify main ideas in the text, right? So we see that. Let's look at how they did with the next paragraph. Another thing that this fall semester has helped me develop myself more in is allowing my classmates to proofread my essay. All right, I'm putting a pin there. If we look at that sentence as their topic sentence, it does a great job in connecting to the thesis. The thesis did talk about how this student or the author improved by considering the feedback from their peers, their classmates. So look how this opening sentence addresses the thesis. Another thing that this fall semester has helped me develop more in is allowing my classmates to proofread my essay without being worried that they're going to judge me. So they use the topic develop. So we know what we're talking about here. We're staying on topic and we are addressing this particular point from our thesis. So let's see how they supported it. It said, at the beginning of this semester, I was embarrassed to share my first essay with the class because I felt that they were going to judge. I actually got over that because our teacher told us it was helpful to have classmates check our essay and to be open to their perspective on what our essays need improvement in. At first, with the essay my classmate revised, I wasn't so sure if I could fix my paper with that proofreading. I felt like my essay was good enough. Until I saw that the teacher made similar proofreading marks. I learned that everyone has something to improve on their writing, some more than others, but as long as we keep trying and allowing another person to give us their opinions, we do become better writers. So again, I really like this paragraph. They did a really good job of going into detail, which is the job of the body paragraph, about how they used peer reviews or the feedback from their classmates to grow and improve, main topic of the paper. So they talked about how at first, I didn't want anybody telling me about my work. I was afraid of judgment. Then they went into, after going through the process, they noticed how the feedback from the student mirrored what was coming from the teacher. So by taking that into consideration, they found out that they were improving. So we see that reflection, them kind of looking back on that learning, right? So pretty good examples here. Do you guys agree that they did a pretty good job of supporting the hows and the whys they've grown and improved?
Yes.
Yeah, I see it here. All right, so
Yes.
let's take a look at conclusion. So they conclude by saying, so yes, through this fall semester, and I got it. Hold on real quick. Let me see if I have a question. Oh, I'm sorry. All right, so yes, through this fall semester, I developed as a writer and a reader in parts I needed help before. I feel that I still need to improve more, but so far I have grown more than I imagined myself growing into. I enjoyed seeing how this class has helped me develop, even though I struggle at the beginning with my reading comprehension and accepting my mistakes. I like that. You guys see where they are summarizing the thesis. They said, so they've taken it back to their thesis. I enjoyed to see how I improved in the class, even though I struggled at the beginning with reading comprehension. That was directly referenced in the thesis, and accepting my mistakes. That is the feedback from peers. So the job of the conclusion is to summarize what the essay was about, reiterate your thesis, and then address why it all matters. I believe that this semester I have enormously grown throughout my months here. So I guess that is their addressing of why it all matters, right? So not a spectacular essay in terms of grammar or sentence structure. I'll give you that. However, perfect essay in terms of answering that question, sticking to proper essay format and structure. Their intro is doing what it should. Body paragraphs are operating as they should. Conclusion is operating as it should. This would easily be an AB paper for me. It would easily be. and I do acknowledge, I know you guys are reading along with me, there are errors. There are errors in sentence skills. There are errors in, what is the word? Phrasing. So it may fall at a B, but, or low A, because I'm willing to kind of, the errors that the student had here, it did not impede on my understanding of the text. Even though I may have stumbled over some sentences, I still was able to follow the student's line of logic, what it was they were trying to say and support. So I'm lenient sometimes when it comes to those errors, as long as they don't stump me. Like if it's getting in the way of my comprehension, that's when it begins to deduct points. But what did you guys think about this sample?
Pretty good.
Pretty good, right? As you are drafting your own, and I'm going to leave these samples, as you guys can see, I'm just scrolling up a little bit. There are 6 samples here. So maybe that wasn't your, a best sample. Maybe you want to see it done several ways, right? Because I'm exactly that kind of learner. I like to see models, right? What do you want it to look like, right? How should it be operating? So hopefully this will help you guys with how that reflective essay should be functioning. It's a reflection on your learning journey. How have you grown? How have you improved? Yes, Nina, did you have a question? Did you have a question, Nina? All right, that's okay. If so, if I'm struggling with my audio, type it in the chat box. That's been a good way of getting my attention. So I saw your hand, Nina. I'll come back. All right, I'll leave this up for you guys. So with this sample, do we feel like what you guys are being asked to do over the weekend, formulate your thesis, start a drafting process? I know, Benito, you sent me your thesis draft, and for a lot of you, the way you do it is you have to write it out. That's cool. That's fine. As long as I can point to, here is that student's thesis. That's, as long as we're able to do that, I'm okay. But I do want to re-emphasize, do not get hampered by, first let me write an essay. The entire essay is the breakdown of that thesis statement. So let's start thesis, and then let's start kind of planning and organizing our paper. So what do you guys think about, as you complete the assignment, shooting me a quick email to kind of get feedback on your thesis? How do we feel about that?
Sounds good.
Okay, yes.
Good.
I think it'll help. And especially where you guys have self-identified as kind of not being too comfortable in this area. I don't want to call it hand-holding. I just want to do some one-on-ones. Let me just make sure you have it and not assume. So email me your direct answer. And let me change our screen really quickly. Email me your direct answer to the question. In what ways have you grown and developed as a reader, writer, and critical thinker? All you pretty much have to send me is a sentence. Send me the sentence that responds to that question. Okay. And then from there, I can help you with outlining. I can give you some ideas. And if perhaps you have a thesis that may be too vague, or what were other words we talked about? Too vague, too general, I can help us with kind of getting a little bit more direct in our statement. Okay. All right. I focused on that a little long, but I think it was needed, because next week, for those of you who may have come in a tad bit late, next week is all about CRT. It's all about us talking about the test, talking about the process, best strategies. So while I'll still be checking in with you guys about the reflective, it's as though I've kind of put you on the bike, and I'm kind of, letting you guys go with that. I do want to look at thesis to see directions, but other than that, you guys will be working on that independently. Okay. Let's talk really quickly about due date on this reflective, just so you guys can kind of have an idea in mind. This is a 16-week course We are currently at week 14. Hold on. That was week. Oh no, that was, yeah, this is week 13, 14, 15, 16. All right.
Miss Cole, when
Yes.
will you be sending us on what we're missing again from the assignments?
You said send it again. Oh, I know what you're saying, Paulina. You're saying now that
Like,
you have sent some things in, you want to see the updated checklist.
yeah, like when will you update once we send the new assignments in?
Yeah, now I stated this early on, but for those of you who came in a tad bit late, I am under water a tad bit with assignments. So since you guys have been submitting things over the weekend, and I even got a few things Monday and Tuesday, I have not updated anything as of yet. So look for an email from me as soon as Friday. I want to take today and take tomorrow to add it to the grade book, read the students who submitted their language discrimination first drafts, give them feedback. So give me Thursday, okay, Paulina?
Okay.
Okay, yes, so give me just a little bit of time, you guys. I've gotten a little bit behind. I seem to have 2 or 3 meetings a day. It's almost insane. So, all right, with this, are we clear on this assignment? I'm gonna go ahead and put this to bed.
Yes.
Email me sentence, email me direction, and we'll talk about that. One last thing. Yeah, because this was pretty much the bulk of what I had. And I know I told you guys, wink, wink. Look, Jocelyn, my people who were here at the start of class, I said I was going to really try to get us out in an hour. So we got about 2 more minutes. So we don't have to do this. That's okay. I am thinking about assigning it for homework. What do you guys think about the commonly misused or confused word practice? That whether it is you guys reading in the grammar workbook that chapter, or completing, we did like a fun little Jeopardy exercise in class. Do you guys feel like we need more practice in commonly confused or misused words? What do you think?
Me personally, yes, I've always had a hard time with that.
Okay.
So I've been reading that chapter a few times, and
Okay.
yeah, because I've always had a hard time with that part.
Okay. And I can tell you guys this just as instructor, in not only reading your language discrimination papers, even your previous papers, but also on the CRT. When you guys wrote your in-class essays on the practice CRT, I noticed that more often than not, we did have errors with commonly confused words. So in some cases, we may feel like we're comfortable with it, but sometimes maybe when we feel rushed in writing, sometimes when we haven't had the opportunity to proofread or get an extra set of eyes, these misusage of words, it slips in. So for the sake of practice, I do want to give us a commonly misused assignment. So let me pull up what I am going to post to Brightspace. I really feel like I don't want to hit you guys with too much more homework, but we'll call this practice. All right, hold on. Let me share my screen with you guys before we get out of here. All right, I'll be posting this to Brightspace, but you guys can kind of see this handout. When we practiced in class on Monday, sorry, let me mute really quickly. All right. When we practiced this on Monday and we did the Jeopardy, a lot of the words that came up were somewhat familiar words. So we had weather versus weather, the WHETHER versus WEATHER. We had principle and principle, but some of the most commonly confused are the allusion and illusion, the affect and effect, the what were the others? The lay and lie, the then and than. We had all of those. So this will allow me to really capture more what are we struggling with, right? So how many questions is this? Oh, uh-oh. It just keeps getting longer and longer. 29, 30. We're going to do it. And all you guys are doing is selecting the correct word. So whether you are, let's say for instance, you are typing it in your email, maybe you are sending me an email, you are addressing it to aosborne2@ccc.edu, and you go into the body of an email and you type 1. I'll say, you guys help me with 1. What is the correct usage of the word here? We discussed the multiple literary illusions or allusions within the text. Which word is the correct word here?
Allusions?
Is that with the A or the I?
With the A.
The A. Okay, I hear A. Do you guys agree? What do we think? I know, yeah. See, this is the, what can I call it? These are the commonly most confused words. So student, teachers, it does not discriminate. These words trip up a lot of people. So we're just going to practice. If you notice you get anything wrong, they have the word and definition in your grammar workbook. So you may have to refer to it to help you answer. But let's do that. These 29. So for number 1, let me just help you guys. It is allusions with an A. So we discussed the multiple literary allusions within the text. And allusions with an A, the tip off is where they said we discussed the multiple literary. Literary allusions is a literary device. So we cut book club, so we didn't really get to go into the vocabulary of literary device, but allusion, a literary allusion is, if in my book I am telling the story of a gentleman who had to hurry up and build a ship, or his city will be flooded, right? Well, that story sounds familiar to you, right? The building a ship, a big ship or an ark to protect civilization. We've heard that story before, right?
Yeah.
That's early Sunday school, right? That's the story of like Noah and the ark, right? But if I'm writing about that or talking about that in the story, and I do not mention Noah and the ark, I've made a literary allusion. I am alluding to or making a connection to a text my audience will already know. So a literary allusion is me making reference or connection to another piece of literature or another text. So allusion, ALLUSION, the only time you will use this is when you are talking about literature. All right. Any reference to how you read, you guys see how they say literary within the text. Anytime it involves text, reading, literature, it is the A, because that is a definition rooted in literary devices. Now this I allusion, right? That is trick of the eye, right? Do I see what I see? Is this clear? So you would have to know the definitions to really know which one to use. What about this second one? Really quickly. Among or between you and me, I think Callie won the test. What do you guys think is the correct word, the correct usage here? Is it among me and you, or is it between me and you?
I think it's between.
Okay.
Between?
Now, I hear you say, I think. What is tipping you off on, like, why would you think that it is between?
I don't know. It's just among doesn't really sound right.
Yeah.
Like
I like how you say it doesn't sound. Sometimes our ears will catch an error. That's why a lot of times when I tell students to proofread, I tell them, when you proofread, read it out loud, because your eyes will deceive you, especially if you're tired. especially if you are kind of doing a quick read. When you proofread, if you read it out loud, just like how you said it doesn't sound right, your ear will point you in the right direction. So you are correct. It is between me and you. I think Callie won the test. So where you may not always be sure, trust your ears. Like that among me and you, it's we just don't always use or speak in that fashion. So a clear indicator is between me and you. All right, so you guys see what we're doing here. You don't have to write the sentence, just write the word. If you get stumped or stuck, then look in your grammar workbook, the chapter commonly confused words. I think that's page 232, and they lay out definitions, so that I think you guys can get help there. I said 29. I may cut this down a little bit because I see some dupes in the words. Okay, let's do 1 to 15. Because I have to be honest, in asking you to do 30, will I grade all 30? I don't know. So we'll do 1 to 15, okay? So let me jot this down. This is practice. I'll call it a homework grade. And this is commonly confused words. All right, so I'll highlight this on Brightspace. Other than that, I have nothing to give you guys. I think I tell you guys on multiple occasions how awesome you are, and this is because you are. I've been kind of let you guys know I've had meetings all week, and the meetings have all been about how to capture students who have disappeared. So there are some instructors who are dealing with students who, after we went on remote learning, right after we were kind of sent home to social distance, they have not seen students since. And the fact that we went from 14 at midterm, and any given Monday or Wednesday, we have 13 students attending class. I mean, I'm kind of like a big deal. They're asking me, what's my secret? What do I do? But I think it's more you guys. You guys are motivated to finish the class. You are motivated to pass the class and to learn. So if I haven't told you this week, you know, you guys are awesome. So I'll reiterate homework, get practice, answer that final reflective essay question, and shoot me your responses. That is the best way to get started and get the help you need in doing so, okay? Next week, all about CRT. You guys are getting your CRT article. So we're going over that.
Miss Cole, after the CRT, will our grades be updated or not yet?
Well, that's a good question. As far as will your grades be updated, that will be, the update will be your final grade. So for right now, I can, with the assignments, you know, what I just told you guys about, expect to hear from me on Friday. For right now, I can update your assignments and I can rerun your number in the grade calculator. So I can give you a progress report, I'll say, over the weekend. I kind of don't want to promise and then not be able to deliver, but I am setting my goal for the weekend, Friday, Saturday. So I can rerun numbers then, but after the CRT, no, like I wouldn't be dropping in, oh, here's another progress report. Like you will get update in the final grade. Here is the final grade.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because the CRT is week 15. I believe it's week 15. Yeah, so it's right before the end of the semester. So once I grade it and then add that score with your required coursework score, then I'm turning in your final grades. So, but of course you guys will know that. So don't think that I'm not notifying you as to what your final grade will be. It'll be just like midterm. I'll send you an email. Here is what I'm turning in for you for final grade. So you guys will know that. It won't be any sticker shock. Okay. That's a good question. Hold on, I got to chat. All right. Oh, thank you. who's listed as admin? So I know iPhone was Paulina. Who's admin? And that's just so I can give, just make sure live here. Is that Sam? Angela. Okay, I got you, Angela. Okay, thank you. All right, you guys, go ahead and get out of here. I'll update everything on Brightspace just so you know. Light homework this weekend. Give me my sentence. That's all with your thesis. And, oh, you know what? Yeah, that's it. The thesis and the practice commonly confused words. That's all I'm going to hit you with. If you have not completed some assignments from our last class meeting, so if you haven't done the sentence type, if you haven't done the Jose Oliveira's, the citizen illegal assignment, then you kind of may have a few more things on your plate. So I'll reiterate it on Brightspace. All right, my
Thank you,
people.
Ms. Cole.
Okay, have a good one.
Thank you. Bye, Nicole.
Enjoy your weekend.
You as well.
Thank you. You too.
All right, thanks you guys. Oh, I see Marissa. Marissa, did you get my email? Oh, look, hey Marissa. Oh, I think she may be gone.